training into the matches. It's like, why not? Even if you lose, continue to compete hard, take third, come back, finish strong. And I feel like for me, those are some of my thoughts in some of the matches at nationals that could have gone either way, end up losing some tight ones. But, at the end of the day, the team race mattered to me. It mattered how I competed afterwards to show the guys on the team what it looks like to not quit, because I was a captain every single year. And, yeah, man, I mean, we had good teams every single year. We were top 3 in the country. We're in the team race. So, it goes fast. So looking back, it was a good journey. I miss being in college wrestling. I wish they had 8 years of college wrestling to keep competing
Bro,
in your
like
20s. So
here though, man, I miss you in that scarlet and gray, bro. Probably outside of you and probably some family members, man. For somebody that's just now meeting you for the first time, like you were a blast to watch and to be for the team that I love the most. I mean, my uncle Clyde and me always we actually ended up going up to the NCAA's, and he's a big reason of why I love wrestling the way I was put on the mat at the age of 5 too, and did it till never got to your level. But man, we just loved watching you, bro. We like you had a different. You see all kinds of guys with different styles, but you don't see somebody go out there and just grind, hand fight. I mean, the most beautiful high crotch I've ever seen in my life. Like, just I hope, and even the person that you are, like, I think that it speaks volumes. Like, how you do put God very high up, and your faith just up there, and it, uh, it means a lot for even people on the outside, brother, more than you know. Like, I hope my son can follow in them footsteps.
yeah, thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I got a unique journey how I got into it, and yeah, everyone's blessed with certain abilities. Obviously, for me, I'm really strong, or one of the strongest guys pound for pound in my weight class and in the entire country, I always felt. And so I'm a power based wrestler. Some people are slick. Their side to side motion is good. They're fast. They're long. For me, I'm strong. I'm strong.
Yeah.
And I can use what I've been given to engage in hand fight and move the guy and create an angle, get to a shot, right? You're not gonna see me doing as much jab fake shot like JB does. I mean, I do think it's valuable, and I've been trying to work it into my own wrestling where you're faking to get people to react, and it opens up more opportunities. But for me, I need to get my hands on guys and move them, and it's exactly what I was telling the kids today in Monroeville. It's like, you got to understand what you've been given. Everyone's given different things, especially if you're in wrestling, right? If you're a long, lanky guy, you're not going to see too many of those guys hitting blast doubles. It's going to be low singles, ankle picks, sweep singles, right? For me, it was high C. They defend high C, go straight single leg or snap and run the corner. And then it's just controlling the hand fight, keep my head in the way, and trying to push in forward, right? And create some separation and then hit my attack. So I've had good people help me in that, but I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of figured out my own system. And obviously you got mentors and coaches working with you to develop little things in your hand fight. But I would say once you get into college wrestling, you usually add one or two little things, nuances into your style, but it's mostly what you see typically from sophomore, junior season all the way through the end. It's kind of your go-to. So mine was the high C. So I appreciate you saying that you liked watching it, because I think it was unique.
Yeah,
My guy I watched when I was younger was Frank Monero. Very similar style, I would say. Short, stocky, strong lefty, high C guy. And so I tried to study how he got his attacks.
well, you got it down, bro. You definitely figured it out. You definitely found a way to get it figured out. And honest, like, was this something like that? Did that high seed come along? Like, was you? Because honestly, the very first match I ever watched, you heard of you. Actually, your senior year in the state finals, you wrestled a kid named Joey Miller.
Hmm.
He's from Carrollton, and that's why I was born and raised in Carrollton, right there. So it like was like, man, we all knew, hey, you know, Tomasello's a joke. This kid's for real. So I was like, man, I gotta check this guy out. You know what I mean? Because it was honestly my first time at the state tournament in a long time. So I was like, man, let's see what this man's about. And it was definitely the price of admissions. Like what everybody said is exactly what it was. And nobody. I go to the state tournament every year now, and I've never seen nobody outside of you and Joey Blaze this year who's heading to Purdue are the only two people I've seen literally walk through that tournament like it was just. I mean, like nothing. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You came up and watched that. The kind of funny thing is, the scouting report for me going into that state finals was, hey, watch out for his head and arm. He's going to go for it. And he almost got it in the first match or the first period of the match. I remember like everybody in the crowd
Yep.
getting wild, getting pretty crazy. But fortunately, I bellied down right away. I was able to get out, and then everything went pretty smooth after that. But yeah, I mean, he was a competitor. He upset a kid from Graham in the semis, which I didn't think he would. And I think I had wrestled him earlier in the season too. And so I kind of knew what to expect. But he, like a lot of people, get hot at the right time, and they wrestle really well when it matters. And that's what he did. And it was a cool. I was glad we competed against each other in
Yeah.
the finals and had good exchange at the end. So, yeah, that one was cool. I mean, obviously, if you can win one state title, it's amazing. For me, I think after I won mine is my freshman year, I really got serious about the sport. I was still doing a few other sports in my freshman year, and then I focused more on it after that. Going into my sophomore year, I worked with a coach named Brian Dolph, who he was a former national champ out of Indiana, that university, and he's obviously you've heard of. So he helped coach Brandon Slay,
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
Brandon Slay ended up upsetting him in the Olympic trial finals, and then Brandon ended up going on taking a silver medal at the Olympic Games, and then later on the guy gets popped and he gets an Olympic gold medal. But that was the guy who actually trained me in the area. He was coaching at a former high school, and one of the teammates, his dad, knew he was there, and he's like, hey, you should start doing privates with him. I'm taking up my son as well. And so I really felt like that's when I made some improvements with my hand fight, because he was similar to me, strong, not very long, and stocky, and he had to move guys with his hand fight. And his elbow pass, he showed me a lot. We worked from that, and just understanding like positioning with your head, positioning where you're driving up into the guy, you're feeling his pressure one way to the other, you're moving your feet so you can kind of create an angle and get to a shot. Because at the end of the day, wrestling is just a lot of body movements and trying to either create some type of an angle, get past his hands or an arm, and
Yeah.
or get underneath his arms and his head and get to a shot. And then that's half the battle. And then once you get on the leg, being able to transition right away and finish on top. And that's another half of the battle that, at least what I've seen in college wrestling, guys like Yanni, Sammy Sasso, and other guys are very good when guys get to their legs now and they score off of that. So I really feel like those things have evolved as wrestling's evolved. And so yeah, long story short, I started working with him, and he helped me develop my technique, because I was a little raw as a freshman in high school. Like most young kids, you just are taught, hey, hit this shot, run through guys, and just use your strength, right? But then as you get older, you start understanding the little techniques that get you to that leg, get you the finish, the chain wrestling of everything. And so I saw that with Blaze this year. I mean, he's come up to the college room a little bit. I've watched him wrestle as well as I've watched Scotty train him. And yeah, he's really evolved well. And I'm excited to see how he does at Purdue, because Purdue's had a really uptick in their program. I think they've gotten a lot better since I was a college athlete. And right now, they have a guy that made the finals this year, and they've had some guys All-American. So
Absolutely, and I do, and I couldn't agree more. I feel like these that whole program as a whole has just every year it seems to get a little better. And when you land somebody like Joey, I think I mean, granted, it ain't it. I've seen also number one pound for pound guys get to the college level and it not quite translate. I actually just had this conversation the other day with somebody, and then I've seen 30th, not even in the top 100. Heck, look at Colin Moore. I mean, prime example. Not sure what his rank was, but come in and be able to be in the top five, be right there every year. You know what I mean? Unless something silly happens. But other than that, like for pound guys, it just like it never clicks. They stay. It's like they hit a plateau.
yeah,
They never grow.
yeah.
And
I not to cut you off, but I really think as you get from high school wrestling to Division I college wrestling, and obviously there's other divisions, Division II, Division III, and AIA. But if you really want to break through in NCAA Division I wrestling, it's a level change, and you have to be committed to working with the coaches every single week, going in the summer before your freshman year, as well as get around elite guys. Like when I got there, Reese Humphrey, Angel Escobedo, Sean Bunch were there, all trying to make the world team and the Olympics the following year. And obviously Logan was on the senior circuit as a young college kid as well. And you had guys that, for me, I was used to whooping everybody in high school as a senior, and then I get into that room and I maybe got 3 takedowns the first 5 months. I mean, it was challenging. It was an ego check, but I had to evolve and I had to be humble enough to just ask these guys, hey, what do you do from this position? How did you score on this? What can I do better from this? Right. And then you start understanding the game a little bit better, and you have to be open to that and open to trying it in the practice room and getting comfortable in that position, whether it's single leg defense, whether it's shooting a different type of shot that you're not used to, and constantly hitting it. The 1,000 rep rule usually applies, right? Like some people can get it right away, especially in high school. When you get to college, if you want to hit it on some of the better guys in the college circuit, you got to be able to comfortably hit it in the room without even thinking about it, right? And so that, and then there's just a lot of distractions. You get to college, there's so many things going on outside of the sport that you could get caught up in. And next thing you know, you lose focus, your grades aren't doing well, you're around the wrong people that leads you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. And you only have 4 years to make your impact on college wrestling. The COVID year gave a lot of guys a 5th year, which I'm a little jealous about because I wish I had another year. But, typically you have 4 years to try to be a national champ, try to be a Big Ten champ, try to win it multiple times. It's just very tough to do, and you got to be all in, right? So
right now with high school you go 178.5, Top Gun champ, 2-time MVP, 3-time Ironman champ, voted an MVP. I couldn't believe you won the Ironman 3 times. Like, dude, you were that guy. You were that guy. I mean, at 4-time state champ, 4-time PAC league champ, 3-time Fargo champ, Beast of the East champ. I mean, dude, you everything you touched, and that's why. But when you got that's why it's kind of crazy to hear is like this man right here that goes and wins Ironman 3 times, gets MVP, wins all these other amazing tournaments, and then he gets 3 takedowns in 5 months. So I mean, if I'm sitting here and I'm an 18-year-old kid and I just graduated college, I'm heading to Ohio State. Like, what would be your advice to that kid heading there right now? Vinny Kilcarry. We'll say I'm Vinny Kilcarry. Right? What do you say to Vinny?
Yeah.
And
The cool part nowadays is the RTC model is very all encompassing, meaning like you got high school kids in the room that are not even graduating yet, and they're with the college guys, the senior level guys, and they're able to train with them, and also be coached at least at the RTC practices with the college coaches and the Olympic coach, right? And so I went there in June as a senior that just graduated from high school, and I stayed with two guys that weren't starters on the team at the time, and they had an extra room at their apartment. I stayed probably 4 or 5 weeks in and out of town, right, back and forth from Cleveland to Columbus, and went to a lot of the practices. Tried to go with some of the guys at the Olympic circuit as well as all the college guys, and it's a mixed group. So I guess the thing for me would be get in the mix right away, build up some friendships with the guys on the team, get to know some of the guys and pick their brains, and just be a worker. A lot of times you get there and it's like if you're working hard, you're going to get attention from the coaches, especially if you're scrapping and you're doing what you're told.
100%.
So, I mean, the plan for me as I got there, at least when I was a freshman, was compete in open tournaments to see if I was ready to compete as a true freshman. Obviously, I beat Nick Roberts at the time, which he was going to be the starter anyways. But at that time, I was kind of really excited about competing as a true freshman. But I really felt like that year as a red shirt helped me mature, be around a lot of high level guys, and for me, I made a junior world team, and I won the junior nationals, took second at the junior world trials in the summer, and competed a little bit overseas and stuff like that. And I got just another year of experience and maturity around me. And then that redshirt year, Kyle came in, and Kyle became my roommate, and I could tell he was all in right when he got on campus, right? So that really elevated me, and he had big aspirations going into college. So we sharpened each other. We lived the same lifestyle pretty much. And I think that's another thing. If you're one of the guys trying to be good, try to get with another guy that's in the same boat. In the same boat. It's easy to say that, but you get caught up sometimes with the wrong people, and it just doesn't go well, and you get lost in the shuffle for a bit. I felt like that for me walking into the room a couple of years ago was Caleb Romero was one of these big recruits, 4-timer out of Ohio. And for a few years, I think he was still trying to figure himself out a little bit, understand what his price list was and what he wanted to get from college. And I really felt like after that COVID year, he started putting things together, and he believed in himself and his wrestling like he did when he was a senior in high school, right? Where he's going after people, double-legging people, and looking to score consistently. And some of it's a mindset, some of it's just training really hard and that switch happening and believing you're good enough to be with anyone in the country. And so it happens a little bit different with everybody. For me, I think my freshman year, I had some tough losses during the season, but I was always real close. I just had a few mistakes that happened some of the matches. And I think the light bulb moment was in the Big Ten semis my freshman year when I wrestled Jesse Delgado, who at the time was the 2-time defending champ. Yeah. And we had a close match, and I remember escaping, and then with 30 seconds left, I had to get a takedown. I hit this double. I got my feet out of the way so he couldn't scramble, and I finished that shot, and then I had to ride him to win it, and I ended up doing that, and that for me made me believe I could win the national championship because he had done it before, and I had wrestled a good match, and then I wrestled Gilman in the Big Ten finals. And then we had another tight match. I got the first takedown. I was able to hand fight him hard, stay in position, not let him get to my legs, and win the Big Tens. And then the ball was rolling after that. And you never know what it's your time, but I felt like after that tournament, there was just a good feeling. like I was young, but I knew I could beat anyone in the country. And I had just won 2 matches that guys were ranked ahead of me. The one guy had already beat me in the season. And it was like, all right, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's win this thing, you
And
know?
you
So,
did that.
uh,
Your year was phenomenal, man. It was fun to watch. Honestly, all 3 of them were. You something, but you could tell, like you said, something clicked, and that Delgado match makes sense because it was like something just was like, man, this kid believes he knows that he's got this, and it showed. I mean, you went on an first 18 straight winning streak to finish the season. Like you went 18 in a row without losing a match to end your freshman season. Like that's insane, especially with the weight class you're in, the Big Tens, the NCAA's. To go and win 18 straight is, brother, that's insane.
the ball was rolling. I think after that Christmas break, because we didn't wrestle in a holiday tournament, I started winning some matches, and things were clicking again. Some of it's just the timing of when you're wrestling really well and being confident, and just like I said, things clicking in your mind and you feeling these positions and just executing, because it comes down to executing in some of these matches, executing with short time, executing a position. You get in a scramble, winning the high hip, or winning a position and wrestling through it, and being very stingy and scoring. Like, that's what it comes down to with some of these top level guys. Like, as much techniques as a lot of it's just heart and grit, and then just letting it fly and not holding back. And some guys struggle with that. I know sometimes in my career I've struggled with just putting everything out there, not being scared to not have the result that you want. Everyone wants to win at the end of the day, and there's always going to be one guy that loses. But if you go out and compete hard, you'll be comfortable with the result more times than not, even if you don't come out as the guy getting their hand raised. And that's what I realized as I got older. Like, doesn't matter what the guy's ranked. If you compete hard, you believe in yourself, right? Think good things happen. That season specifically for me, I really believed it. And I remember Lou telling me that after the Big Tens, he's like, you're going to wrestle, you're going to win it, man. You can wrestle with anyone in the country. And he had put probably the most work into me during that season. And we had worked on specific areas I needed to get better. I needed to work on my escapes. I got better from the bottom position, because I think Ohio wrestling, the one thing I would emphasize is we need to get better at riding and escapes, because at least when I watched the state tournament, they call stalling on top when the guy's just riding the guy. And so it makes it like not realistic when college wrestling happens and the guy's really good on top. You got to escape, and you're not used to the guy riding you hard. So I had to get better at sealing off, closing windows, and not letting this guy get forward pressure on my hands. So we worked on that a lot, and then I worked on just scrambling and getting comfortable. If a guy does get on my legs, being able to scramble and not give up an easy takedown. So
I mean, just with talking here for like 20, tell me coaching's in the future, because I mean, I'm learning as I'm sitting right here, and I just feel like coaching's got to be in the future.
I'd love to coach at a big school like Ohio State or something like that. Sometimes it's challenging getting your foot in the door, because there's some of these coaches that stay at these programs for a long time, and there's only 4 college coaches. And so I coached 1 year at Duke right after the COVID year hit, and it was a short season, but I felt like I needed a fresh start. I needed to get around different guys and be in a different location. I felt like for me that could be a fresh start. Be around, at that time I was around the North Carolina guys, NC State, obviously that triangle between UNC, NC State, and Duke. And so the cool thing about that is they're all really cool with training with each other. And so I ended up going to UNC a lot, training with Jordan Oliver, who at the time was still trying to make the Olympic team himself, and Kenny Monday. And so I picked up some stuff from them and just enjoyed coaching. And anytime you step into coaching mode, you have to really specifically understand positions because you're trying to explain it right easy enough for them to understand. You have to talk about your hand placement, your hip placement, your pressure, your where your feet are at, and stuff like that. And so obviously it's not self-focused. You're focused on the individual, but you're still getting better because you got to understand these positions. So when they try to execute the move, they know it. So I felt like that season we had a good season at Duke. I know Duke isn't quite the same as some of these Big Ten schools, but Josh Feinsilver made the round of 12. Almost All-American, was really close to making that All-American status. And then for me, I got me another opportunity to compete at the Olympic trials. My body was healthy at the time, and it was 3 weeks after the Nationals. And so then that got me into another Olympic cycle, competing a little bit longer. And so for me, I'd like to step back into a bigger time program. If I was going to coach again, I was doing a club this past off season in the fall, and I was coaching high school kids, and I've had a mixed group with that. I think for me, I appreciate working with higher level high school kids that had the same aspirations when I was a junior, senior, where they were trying to win Fargo. They were trying to make a cadet team, a junior world team, right? They were trying to get ready to go Division I if they get a scholarship offer. And so I liked working with that type of group as well as Division I, Big Ten. I mean, obviously that's the best conference in the entire country. You get the most national champions every single year out of that conference, as well as guys making world and Olympic teams. And so, God willing, something will open up. If not, obviously it's jumping into another opportunity when it presents itself and working my way up from there.
Absolutely. How did you like it going to Michigan, going up there with Cliff Keen and training with them, and for just
Yeah.
pro team trials? Did that go the way? Was you happy with the?
Yeah. The thing I liked about it. Are you there? I lost him for a second. So I'll keep going though. The thing I liked about you there.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck that was about. My fault,
That's
buddy.
okay. So the thing I liked about Michigan is after I'd graduated from Ohio State, I'd actually looked about in the fall to go up there and train because I liked that they had Sergey Belaglazov as their Olympic development coach, as well as some good training partners. And then when KJ stepped in as the assistant coach there, I felt like those two guys could help me learn the Olympic style better and understand positions that I needed to get better at from college through trying to be an Olympic champion. Because every time you jump levels, you have to be really, really good from every position. I felt like those guys had done it, experienced what it takes to get there. And so I talked to Sean a little bit in the fall, and he asked what I was doing. And for me, I came back. I was dating a girl, and I was getting into doing this club that I had started up, and I was still contemplating if I wanted to compete a little bit more because, at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. I love training and getting ready for events. So I prayed about it. I talked to Autumn about it, and she's like, "You need to do this. You've been talking about it for months now. Why don't you go up there, look at that opportunity, see if it's right for you?" And so the good thing about Sean is he's very flexible with the schedule as well as kind of very easygoing. So at least when I talk to him, he's been able to allow me to come back and forth, train during the week, come back on the weekends, still do my club and stuff like that. And it was a really good situation. I felt they have a good Olympic development program. They have a lot of guys. I would say Penn State has probably the most guys in that room that are trying to do the senior level stuff, and Michigan's probably number 2. And so I was around like Jaden Cox, Alex Derringer, and other guys like that are really good and still trying to do the same thing. And so it helped me really work to get better in positions and get ready to compete at the senior circuit this past spring. And obviously, you want to win the tournament. Going into it, I knew it was a very deep weight class at 61 kilos. I've been on the national team a few times, and I've wrestled most of the guys at that weight class. I think the tough part was most of those guys had done summer and fall competitions last year as well as in the winter, and I really only had realistically one match in Bulgaria before going to the U.S. Open, and so just felt like I competed hard. Obviously, the results, are what they were. I wrestled hard against Vito. We had a good match. He's wrestling lights out. Hats off to him. He's really figured out his own style and what he likes to do. And I think he's a better freestyler than his folk style, in my opinion. So we had a 3-8 match in the semis. He ended up winning the Open, sits out in the trials. And then Nishon wrestles lights out in the World Team Trials. And so
he's been wrestling.
Both those guys would have a really solid best 2 out of 3 series to make the World Championship team, and so they did. I watched both those matches. I was really impressed because both are very explosive, fast wrestlers that can hit you out of nowhere with the double or can drag to a position, and they're laterally very fast. They side-to-side motion is very fast, and so I felt like this year they were probably the 2 best in the weight class, at least at that tournament, getting ready to compete, going into Olympic trials, right? Things can change in 8 to 10 months. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you're doing it long enough, there's highs and lows. Everyone goes through it. I mean, it's so rare to go undefeated. I think everyone's goal, especially if you're elite level wrestler, is to go undefeated. And it stings a lot when you lose, but you got to just regroup. The sun's going to come out another day. You just got to keep your head up, learn from it, and just continue to make adjustments. And at the end of the day, just value the process as well as have fun with the competition part. Because if you're so focused on the results, at the end of the day, it's not going to be as fun as it should be.
Yes, sir. I like that. I like that a lot, man. That's a good way of looking at it, and I don't think a lot of people do. So that's pretty awesome that you have that mindset and outlook on it. Now, are you looking at? Are we going to try to get on that Olympic team next year and try to go win some gold?
Yeah, I'm still praying on what I want to do next. Obviously, got my wedding coming up and taking some time to just kind of teach kids and just take this summer and enjoy life. I feel like when you get very tunnel focused, you forget that life's happening and you got to have some time where you're just laughing and having fun. Obviously, wrestling's fun, but at the same time, it can be very serious and focused and physically tough, mentally tough, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. And, I feel like if my body's healthy enough, we'll do it again. So
good. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, and congratulations, by the way, on the engagement and getting married, bro. It's one of the best jobs in the world. I'll tell you that. I can appreciate it, man. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. That was definitely a leap of faith for me moving back to the area. I really only started dating this girl a few months, but I feel like when you start getting to know someone the first few dates and something clicks, you kind of
Yeah.
So that's how I felt, and that's why I moved back. I think at the end of the day, if you can meet a really, really good girl that fears God and is like-minded in a lot of ways, it's rare, especially in this world. So I felt like for me that was really a blessing. You go through, the college circuit and the wins and loss with that, but then it's something completely different when you meet someone and you're talking about spending the rest of your life with that person. It's something really special that can't be taken for granted. So I felt like that when I was moving back, and last summer we got a chance to really connect. We did some camps together. I went down on vacation with her and her family and really felt like, it was special. It was important. It was good to get to know her. I took a little bit of time away, and that helped me with my own mindset, getting back to competition mode, being excited to compete. Because Yeah, it's a long journey. I started when I was 9 and I'm 29 now. It's a long journey if you continue to compete, if you don't take some breaks. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Just kind of seeing where the next step is. But man, if like you said, you found yourself a good woman, a God fearing woman that regardless of which way it goes, whether it's coaching, whether it's going back and trying to get the Olympics, or whether it's just just doing whatever you ended up majoring in and just settling down and having a good life, buddy. It's just wherever God wants you, that's where He's going to put you, and you're going to be all right. You are, Nate. I could just by talking to you, buddy. He's got a plan for you, and you're heading in that direction, buddy.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's not easy navigating the next steps sometimes. I feel like every decision, I mean, I was looking at a few schools getting it out of high school, and I brought some really close people in my life together to talk about where I should go to college and what could be the best place for me for the next not just 4 years, but 8 to 10. Because I know for me, I had Olympic aspirations back then. As I was looking at some of these schools, it really came down to Minnesota or Ohio State, and I felt like Ohio State was the right choice. And so I look back at that decision. Same thing with my high school decision and going to coach as well. Like as really, steps that were leaps of faith, but also the right opportunities at the right time that helped me mature and get better, as well as use the platform I've been given to hopefully inspire people to grow in their faith as well as get into the sport. Cause I don't think it's growing. I feel like it was big back in the 90s when they had some of these other guys and it kind of died a little bit, not died, but the freestyle part of it, I think is hopefully growing. Cause I feel like the college Big Tens covering that as well as nationals has grown exponentially. There's a lot of people that view it, they see it every single year, but hopefully the Olympic style continues to grow and they continue to try to get people interested in it, because I think that's a huge part of everything with wrestling. If you're going to be state champ, national champ, whatever, Olympic champ, like you have to value and put that more out there so people can understand the sport. Because I had no clue when I was a kid what wrestling was.
Did
I'll
you
be honest.
did you was freestyle a big part of your high school career, or was it just strictly folk style? This is what we do.
So the same club coach that was Logan Seaver's club coach was the guy that I trained with in the off season, and he was big on freestyle. So I did Fargo 5 times. I won it 3 years out of 5. I took third twice, and then I wrestled at the junior duels, which they're actually having I think this weekend. And so I wrestled that, and that was a fun team tournament. You're wrestling with some of the best guys in your state on a team, wrestling other states' teams, which was great. And so I did like the regional events as well. They've had some spring regional events and the freestyle state tournament and stuff like that. And I made the cadet world team back in 2011, I believe, something like that. So I was doing freestyle when I was younger, and I thought it was fun because if you're doing high school wrestling all year round, it's really tough to do. It'll burn you out, especially if you're not doing it in another sport. So like if you're doing freestyle, it just makes things fun again. Because instead of trying to get out from bottom, all you're trying to do is lay there and just break the lock and not get turned for 10 seconds and you're back up. And then you can suplex someone and do other crazy stuff, which you don't get to do in folk style. So
Right in wheelhouse. That short, stocky monster's body, like you just let him fly.
yeah, so I loved it. I'm really glad because my buddy picked up a youth wrestling flyer at the high school the one day and asked me if I wanted to come with him. And I was like, sure, why not, right? Because we were doing stuff together. He was my friend down the street, and that's how I got into wrestling. Little did I know this is what was going to happen 20 years later. I've lost touch with that friend, but I thank him. I would definitely thank him if I had the chance to, if we see each other as adults, because it's given me a lot. It's given me a great story, opportunity to connect with people all over the country and sometimes in the world, just to talk about sport and life.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And it has, and it's and I could imagine. I mean, just I mean, from Oklahoma to Michigan, from Ohio State to I mean, Cuyahoga Falls. You know, you've definitely been able to do Bulgaria. I mean, all these things going out of the country and doing it. So I mean, you've got to see and go and do, and it's I mean, it sounds like it's been quite the blessing for you, and you've you've helped people even such as myself. I'm 35 years old, and watching you and it was the highlight of my week. Like whenever you were at Ohio State, man, we looked for it every week. It was like, hey, NATO's coming on. Shh, quiet. It's go time. 133, 125, whatever it was. Like it's that we waited for it twice a week sometimes.
Thanks,
So
man. I appreciate that. I mean, I put a lot of training in behind it, and I love competition day. I mean, obviously, you get butterflies when you step in that arena and you're going to wrestle a top 20 opponent, and you're familiar with a lot of them because you've wrestled them in high school sometimes as well. And so, at the end of the day, I wanted people to watch my wrestling, be inspired, and be excited to just see 7 minutes of hard wrestling, and whether it's trying to get to the high C a lot or riding hard on top or getting, you know, a big move, whether it's a double leg to a Turk or something like that, but just like being aggressive, letting like the wrestling speak, what my training was like during the week. And so there's definitely times during the season where it was a tough weight cut or you weren't feeling the best. But I think that's what wrestling teaches you is like typically there's patches in life that you just got to push through and you can't let things that aren't 100% affect your mindset. And so I tried to do the best job of that all those years that I competed as a Buckeye, just being an example. I was grateful when I became the captain as a freshman. I felt like that was a great
yeah, that's
responsibility on my shoulders because I knew that there's not too many guys as freshmen stepping in, and that the coaches believed that they would be the captain the next
even
couple years.
even Coach Ryan to this day, like when he talks about you, like you can tell that it, it's like he's talking about his own son. Like yeah, like that they'll. I've seen him in interviews here within the last year or two, and it's like you could tell he has just an extreme love for all of his guys. But like you can tell there's just possibly something, and it ain't nothing against anybody else, or I don't want to say it. Just the way that it comes off to me is like, man, he's really got some love for Tomasello, man. It really seems like him and NATO must have really clicked, or he just has. You did something that set really at home with that man because you can see it on him when he talks about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, for me, starting the Buckeyes off every single year as a freshman, the senior at the lightest weight, is a big opportunity, and hopefully, before that, I felt like they had some good teams, but they weren't really recognized as a powerhouse every year. And I felt like from 2014, 15 on, every
Oh,
single year, the Ohio State wrestling team's talked about as one of the top teams in the country. And
animal.
I'm grateful that for me and some of the other guys, you kind of helped start that trend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm honestly, this is the first time since you got you, Kyle, Bo, like a lot of you guys left. This is the first time, like now that they brought in Mendez and they brought in Buzakis and they got Rocco Welsh coming in, and just you see kind of a trend of like, man, it's like the boys are kind of back in town type of deal. Like it feels like you guys they might be able to make an, and I hope they do because and it ain't nothing against Penn State. Kale's running a heck of a show, and good for him, and good for what they're doing down there. But I mean, I'm an Ohio boy, you know what I mean, and I'm an Ohio guy just like you. And I'd love to see Coach Ryan and Jaggers and Bo and Logan get this thing rolling, and even get that RTC up and rolling, and make people want to go there. And I'm not sure how the whole RTC thing works. Obviously, it seems like everybody heads to Penn State, but like if you're in running that RTC, how do you get those keep Kyle Snyder at home? How do you keep these guys that want to even date going there and just like what do
Yeah.
we do different? You know,
Yeah, it's some of it's politics, I'll be honest. Some of it's politics in any sport, there's politics, right? And some of
yeah,
it's like having the right resources set in place that makes guys feel like this is the right place for me to try to be the best in the sport. And I think when Lou left and then Travell left, I think it really made it challenging for the RTC model at Ohio State to work because those two guys both were Olympians, both knew what it took, both were really team oriented
yeah,
and
yeah.
very good
Oh, no,
coaches, and they're both been in it for a long time. So I think that's made it challenging. As far as Olympic part goes, you don't want to lose those type of guys.
right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, at the end of the day, things go full circle. The thing could be up and running in a couple years. Guys could commit to go and train there. It's just getting the right people. As small as wrestling is, it's so much about having the right people involved, and that's what leads to people believing in that system and going there.
Yeah, I can say I think you could be a heck of an RTC coach right there with Logan, big guy. I mean, I think you put those two together, that's a powerhouse squad right there. I like it at least. I mean, this was just a fan outside looking in. These are two people that I've watched growing up that I think if my son's sitting there and he has an opportunity and somebody's like, hey man, NATO and Logan's down there, Stever's down there coaching in RTC, that's not a second. Here we go. Let's go get some of the baddest men I've ever watched wrestle. Let's go get some coaching from them. But wherever you do end up, brother, I think, like I said, God's got that plan for you, and you're going to be right where you're supposed to be, and we'll
Yeah,
be right.
thank you, thank you.
We're,
We'll see. Obviously, I'm still trying to finish out my own career, and I got some decisions to make on that front here in the next month or two to what I really want to do. But at the end of the day, I think some relationships have to be mended there if I'm going to go back. I'll be honest, but you know, we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. So
hopefully, man, I hope they do, and that's understandable, and I can respect that to the fullest. But I know that with with everything that you've done, man. I literally have just pages, and to be honest with you, I watched you your whole career, and I mean, 4-time All American, 3-time or 4-time All American, 1-time national champ, 4-time Big Ten champ. You got this is just your senior year alone. You were the 15th wrestler in Big Ten history to capture 4 conference crowns, brother. Like first trio of you in the same year to get your four All Americans is incredible to me. I think that's awesome with you, Bo, and who was the other one? It was you, Bo, and there was a third one that got. It might have been Snyder too. Like you
yeah,
guys.
Kyle did. Kyle did. They made a big deal of it, and it was, at the time going into our senior years, we all had a chance to All American. And I think the cool part is I don't think anyone finished below fifth or sixth. I think Bo took fifth, maybe. I think he was third, 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 second, fifth, or something. And so no one finished below fifth in that trio. Kyle was second, first, and I was first, third. And
That's a class right there.
yeah, really, really, honestly, a really
That's
good
unreal.
people, great athletes, right? Guys that know how to win and do it at a high level. And I mean, it showed, right? I feel like I knew it going into it. That was a lot of the reason I committed there. I was like, those two know how to win. Bo was
Yeah,
the Junior Hodge Trophy winner. Kyle had just won the Junior World Championship the year before. Both guys were probably ranked a little higher than what I was on the big board going into college. They both had aspirations to win national championships, and you get 2 or 3 guys like that. There's only 10 guys on the squad. So it's like, just like basketball, you get 2 or 3 really good players, you have a chance to win the NBA championship. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, Tom knows that. So, it's just a recruiting battle at that point and making sure that the recruits believe in the system and feel like it's the right place for them to do something special. And then it's just enjoying the journey because the journey goes fast. And you know, the seasons are long sometimes, but the national championship comes up so quickly once Christmas is over. Once you get into January, it's like you're in the Big Ten championships, and then you 2 weeks in at 2 weeks you're at nationals, and then it's over, right? And then you're trying to make the world championship team at your age group or at the senior level, and so it's a sprint to the finish. But at the end of the day, right, like you get those kind of guys, and it gives me the chills looking back because at the end of the day, like we had some really good moments that happened during those 4 years. So
I can imagine.
I
The
appreciate that.
house, and it gives me chills, and so I couldn't imagine actually being in the room. And I remember when you guys, it was either Iowa or Penn State. It was Penn State when you guys came out and you guys had uh, like the like, and you were leading out the tunnel, and you had that red suit like with the hood up, and it was just like, oh man, like it was. I'm not kidding you, dude. Like, I mean, it was like, who these, like, you get in the look, like, with you leading them out, it just, you're always an intense guy. Like, when it comes to stepping on that mat, like, it was just like, whew, this is, it amped everybody up. I mean, from, I don't know if it was Coach Ryan's idea or whose idea it was, but like, just the way it all fit together and you leading them out of the tunnel with that on, and just like you guys were ready to go to war and just a bunch of gladiators, and it was still to this day one of the greatest and coolest things. I mean, not everything in our way, obviously, but it was pretty awesome over the event.
Yeah, I mean that was a really cool event. I like the ropes personally. I think it's a good look for dual meets. I think it looks like you're fighting, right? It looks like you're getting ready for a big time
Yeah,
match fight, and I
time to
just
go.
think it's unique to the sport. You don't see it other than wrestling and boxing, so and maybe MMA. So it's all the combat sports which
And that's
separates us. So
what do you think if like if there's one thing you could add to this sport, to NCAA wrestling freestyle, whichever one, like
yeah, I
what
like. I personally like the push out rule in freestyle. I think it encourages people to hold center and engage more. I think sometimes guys play the edge a bit. I knew Jesse Delgado did that when I was scouting him. He'd play the edge and you'd reach for him and shoot underneath you, right? Like he was good at playing the edge. And um, I think when you're obviously you get pushed out, you give up that point. I think it really makes people engage in action more and wrestle more. So, but I'm excited to see the 3-point takedown. I'm excited to see how that
you like it?
changes. Yeah, it could. I mean, I think it'll encourage more action on the feet, and hopefully, I mean, I like riding. I think it's art being able to turn
Me
people on
too.
top. I think it's really cool, but I think being an Ohio guy, I appreciate multiple different ways of guys getting takedowns and 5 or 6 takedowns happening in a match, and people
We
trying
view
to
it the
score a
exact
lot.
brother.
So
We
I
view it.
think that'll make it more exciting for fans because people like action, and that's going to encourage more action. And
And that was my whole thing. I watched you personally, like take somebody down in the first period 5 times, and then at the end of the first, it's 5 to 10, and it's like, but NATO just smoked this guy, and he's up by 5. One move, and he's down by 1. You know what I mean? Like if you slip, you go to your back, and like something happens, and you're down. I mean, I just didn't. 5 takedowns to none, you should be up by more than 5. So I was a fan of that. 15 to 5 sounds more realistic to me. Now with the whole, hey, let's turn them, like the 1 point riding rule. If you don't turn them, you don't get it. Like, no, we're not that. I think riding it. I use it as an example the other day at work. I was telling the guys, I was like, that's like saying 8 seconds ain't long enough to ride a bull. You know what I mean? Like, but you also got to get off and drop kick it also whenever you're done. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, hey, like, riding is just as much of an art, like, and holding them down and getting that minute of riding time as it is, like, but that's just my opinion. Everybody, I mean, I've had people agree, I've had people disagree. That's just, I don't think you should have to turn them to get your one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all really good. Yeah, writing's very interesting, guys. Definitely. I mean, I saw it with some of the guys at Penn State. I think specifically them holding on the ankle, riding the ankle, and
Yeah.
I just felt like that was frustrating to watch because are you really trying to turn them? I don't think so, right? You're
No.
just trying to stall on top, and it's like you want to see the better guy win. Yeah, like sometimes I mean, it's just annoying because if the better guy like gets caught in this ankle ride and stuff like that, you don't really see enough action. You don't see who the better guy is. And I
Yeah.
think that hopefully the new rule changes will really make sure that the guy that's the better wrestler technically and tactically is typically the guy that wins it. And I'm hoping that happens because I just think that, you work so hard and you want to be a national champ. And it's like, if the rules are going against you and you get kind of screwed a little bit, it sucks because you only get 4 chances and then that's it. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, though, man. I appreciate it. I ain't gonna hold you much longer, man. NATO. I appreciate it, man. This was something real special to me, just to be able to sit down and talk to you, man. So it means more than you know. I hope you don't hang them shoes up quite yet, because I'd love to see you go get a gold somewhere. But at the same time, I know you gotta take care of that wife and take care of this wedding, and I hope it all goes great for you, brother. I'll be praying for you, and I hope everything turns out amazing. Make sure you stay in touch too, big guy. You got me on Facebook or anything, man. Stay in touch, and hopefully we can link up one day.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'll definitely stay in touch and thank you. We'll see how the next year goes and just the next opportunities ahead of me. And excited to see the next college season. I think there'll be a lot of good matchups. I think there's a lot of good wrestlers right now in college wrestling, and there's a lot of good and upcoming kids in the high school now becoming college wrestlers, and there'll be some great matches. Ohio State's going to do well this year, and just there's a lot to be excited for in wrestling.
100%. Now, do you still, whenever do you still have that soft spot with those 4 years at Ohio State? If you watch Ohio State, Iowa, if you watch Ohio State, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, are you still? You're still a Buckeye at heart, right?
Yeah, they're my alumni, man. I'm an alumni there, so at the end of the day, I'd like to see them win. Obviously, it's tough. At least right now, I'm training with the Cliff Keene Regional Training Center, RTC. So typically, when those two wrestle, I'm not trying to root for anybody because there's just good people in both systems. Now, being around both of these systems, there's just so. Yeah, I mean, I felt like when I was a Buckeye, Michigan typically was not a rival. It was more Penn State. So.
That still kind of is. Like, even when I went to both duels, and it was like, man, it's not. This ain't football. The wrestling and football have two different rivalries.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I for sure, man. I feel like I'm from Ohio. I graduated from there. It's a good university. It's a great program. We've had success, so it's good.
I hope everything gets mended, and I hope to see you around. And honestly, man, even if it's coaching high school, or are you running camps around Ohio too, by chance?
Yeah, I've done some camps. Typically, I get asked by high schools around the state to come in, especially in the off season, and talk about the journey like we're doing, and talk about positions that I felt like I mastered, and just show the techniques and talk about mentality, right? So I just did one in Monroeville. I'm doing one in Strongsville next week. I'm actually doing one tomorrow in Hawking Hills for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I got one in Adena, July 1st, and a few others in Ohio. So I typically have put it in my website. My website's natowrestling.com, and I just put it on my website. If someone reaches out to me, I put it on there. People go on and are interested in wanting to know if I'm doing anything. That's where I put it typically is I update the camps that I'm doing, and if kids want to look at it and see if they're close by to it. So
'Cause I tell you, yeah, I mean, probably got a couple more coming your way, big guy. So that's awesome to know, especially that I didn't know you had the website. So definitely something that they all wanted to know if you were running camps and or at least coming in and running come in and get these kids exactly what you said you were just doing. So that's definitely good to hear. And heck, I might even throw my name in there and have you just come visit the boy out, check him out, see what you can get him to do.
yeah, yeah, man, I'd love to just help him out. Obviously he's a really young kid, but
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We got a couple more years, but once we do, though, we'll be reaching out for sure, man. Because there's something seeing that.
sweet kid, man. That sounds great.
But enjoy that wedding, brother, and good and congratulations, and tell the miss I say congratulations, man, and hopefully we can link back up and do this again soon.
Yeah, I will. She's doing the dishes right now, so I'll
All right,
tell her.
you got a good one. You keep that one.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. God bless you guys both, and man, we'll talk to you soon, big guy.
Yeah, have a good weekend. Talk to you soon. Thanks again for having me on, and hopefully this helps grow wrestling, helps grow your platform, and get more people on the show. Because I think the more people that are around like-minded helps grow it. So
That's the plan, man. That's I hope so too, brother. And I figure having NATO on a show is not only a blessing for me, but like you said, man, if it can help anybody else out in either way, platform rolling, man. I feel like I owe you, buddy. I do, man. It means that much to me, so I do appreciate it.
yeah, my pleasure, man. No worries. All
You
right.
take. I'll talk
Yep.
to you soon. Yeah,
Yep.
later,
Bye.
bro.